but more than that, I'm just so sick of, like, living this way. Like, I miss out on a lot of, like, social events. I miss out on doing things with my fiance. My best friend just got married a couple weeks ago, and I stood up in her wedding, and we had this big, huge bachelorette party, like, girls trip planned, and at the last minute I ended up not going because I knew that they were going to be taking pictures the whole weekend, and I was, like, had so much anxiety about that. I ended up not going, and now that's, like, killing me that I missed my best friend's, party to get ready for her wedding. Like, stuff like that I miss out on all the time. I'm just sick of having this, like, control me.
And the crazy thing is, describe to me, we're on video, describe to me what the issue is. You are not even considered overweight. If someone were to say to you, do you have a weight problem, what would you say?
I would say technically no, I'm not overweight, but I feel that I'm carrying extra weight that I should not be carrying because of my eating habits.
Okay, or maybe it's not your eating habits, maybe it's your standards.
Well, yeah, that.
Okay. You have a very strict standard around how your body's supposed to look. It's such an extreme, wouldn't you say it's an extreme standard that it's not attainable?
Yes. Yes. Can I elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah.
So, a few years ago, I actually did sort of let some of this go, and I started just listening to my body and really just eating when I was hungry, and I ate whatever I wanted, and I stopped when I was full because I more or less was just busy with, like, life, like with work and friends, and I just focused more on that stuff than on all this weight stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up losing a bunch of weight, and it just literally, like, fell off effortlessly when I started eating that way. And
Hold on, I just want to make sure that we clarify. You stopped dieting.
Yes.
Okay, you stopped dieting and worrying about your weight and just listening to your body. And your body naturally went to a natural state. Okay.
And then it was almost like I had realized that I lost all that weight. So then I was like, oh my God, I don't want to put that weight back on. So I started kind of tightening the bolts and working out more and
dieting.
Things out. Yeah, and yes. So I ended up losing more weight, and then I ended up, of course, gaining it all back. But
hold on, you started gaining it back because
I was taking it to the extreme, and I couldn't,
and you started to compensate for those extremes. So you probably started binging.
Yes.
And then trying to purge it out through exercise.
Yeah.
Okay, so we just want to clarify, because you know what? A lot of times people go, well, then I gain it all back. But they miss the most important step, which is I dieted so extremely that I ended up overcompensating to just find a sense of freedom. Binge drinking, binge eating. And then, which creates what? Weight gain, but then it creates an even worse counter compensation, which is binge exercising, potential purging through vomiting, diuretic use, because you're so desperate to just maintain the weight loss you did from not dieting. Okay.
So, I totally forgot where I was going with that.
I'm sorry, but I have to make sure I want to make sure you get what I'm describing.
Yeah.
So we were talking about, do you have a weight problem? And you really don't. You have a very extreme standard, and you lost the weight, felt really good about it, attached your identity to it, and then fought hard to keep it.
Yes. So that's where I was going. So now I'm constantly I have that image in my mind of me then when I had lost the weight initially, and now it's like I'm constantly fighting myself to get back there. Like, and that's why, but so the other part about that is, though, like, when I gained all the weight back, it was such a devastating, I mean, I remember vividly just feeling like I just wanted to crawl into a hole and cry for days.
Okay.
Like, I was devastated. And
Yeah.
so I
Well,
feel like now I'm so afraid to climb to the top of the ladder and fall flat on my face again.
mhm.
So now every day I take a couple steps up and a couple steps down, and a couple steps up and a couple
Yeah.
steps down.
So
I'm
here's,
afraid to totally let go and have that fall again.
well, do you understand why was that gain so devastating? Do you understand what caused that devastation?
The identity, like you said, that I attached
Being
that,
thin.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
Consider why you would get such an ego from losing that weight, even though it wasn't even what you were intending to do. Was it because you got positive reinforcement? Was it because you started to get a sense of security, or I'm better than, or I'm more valuable now?
Yeah, I think it has to do with all of those.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So if you could go back to the time you didn't care, let it go, ate whatever you want, listened to your body, lived in busyness elsewhere, right? And you lost the body fat that was probably unnatural. It was very little, I'm assuming, because the most you've ever weighed is 160. And you're 5'6". You're 5'6", so you need to keep in mind when she's saying she's losing a ton of weight, those of you who actually have obesity or are overweight, you are making an assumption that she's huge. She's tiny. She's got maybe 10 extra pounds, maybe. Okay, so I just want to clarify that this is distorted viewing. Your lens of view about your body is very distorted. So you may have lost 10 pounds naturally.
Yeah.
And then you may have lost another 5 pounds by starvation. And so as you're doing that, you're obsessing over your waist size. What's your parameter? Your stomach?
Yeah.
Do you know why that's predictable?
Why?
Media. What do we see on TV?
Yeah,
What is the obsessive focus on women?
Jean size and waist
Your
size
waist.
and,
Your waist.
Yeah.
We could say boobs and butt, but that's a different realm. That's sexual realm. We're talking about the athlete. We're talking about female to female judgment.
Yeah.
We're looking at the stomach. So you started looking at your stomach. How often did you look at your stomach?
Oh, every day.
How
Like
many times? I know. That's what I need you to say that again. How many times did you look at the stomach to monitor to see how good it looked?
Several times a day. When I got done working out, when I got done eating, when I woke up in the morning, when I went to bed at night, like all throughout the day. Yeah.
And if it looked great, you were like, oh my God, I am so amazing.
I was like on a high. I was like on the top of the world. Like, it was the best feeling ever.
Okay, so if you saw someone else doing that, what would you warn them about?
I would be concerned that they're focusing too much on something vain.
Well, it's not even about something vain. They're attaching a sense of value to something that has nothing to do with the truth. It's a lie. Because what happens if this person gets pregnant, has babies? What happens to their sense of value now? If that's what they're using, if that is the bar, if that's the standard for feeling successful in life, what's the likelihood that they're going to feel successful the rest of their life? Zero, zilch, nothing. So when you look at how reclusive you were after the fact, can you forgive yourself for that? I mean, is it understandable?
Yeah.
It's completely understandable. You attach so much identity and so much value and so much of your worth to the visible area between the rib cage and the hips and as a woman, do you understand that you're vulnerable every month to hold fluid and to gain every month? You're going to have issues there. Okay, so so you're setting yourself up to feel bad about it, but consider when you give yourself that much pride and ego attached to a visible area of your waist, what it would feel like and how much value did you give it to where you won't go to your best friend's wedding because you feel like your waist is too big?
It's sometimes when I do step back and look at the whole picture, it's like it makes me sad. Like, how am I, like, what am I thinking?
Okay. Well, we now can see that this is understandable. The question we need to go to next is why would anybody, why would myself attach to something like this to feel good about ourselves? What's the underlying drive?
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is like like I said, when I was a kid, just watching like fashion shows and always hearing like praise towards girls who were thin and pretty. I actually remember when I was a kid, this is ridiculous, but I remember when I was a kid, people would always ask like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And most kids will say like a firefighter or a teacher or whatever, and I would say I want to be skinny and pretty. Like that was
modeled to you from your mother.
Yeah.
And your friends and everything. So if you that is understandable. But what's the difference between you and all the rest of the girls out there who aren't as extreme? Who see the same stuff and they can go, that is just freaking ridiculous. That's abusive towards women. What's the difference? There's something different between you. I don't mind about your dog.
Okay,
he can bark. You can pet him if he needs help. They have needs too, honey. I like canines. Okay, so no, really, I want to go back to the question. What is necessary for someone to have a vulnerability towards obsessing over micromanaging how they look? There's something missing. If you're gravitating to something that intensely to feel secure and good about yourself, what's the underlying issue? Do you have a grasp of your worthiness separate from the body? So if you were to separate your spirit from your body, now, do you have a very big grasp of the worthiness you have without your body?
Actually, no. I think that's what I need to work on.
Yeah. Good. I know you're what you've done is you're in seeking all of this. You can make sense of like, well, this is how I was raised. This was what was really important. This was what my mom obsessed about herself. It's surprising she's shocked that you have the same disorder. I can't believe she doesn't see that, but you know what? That's okay. She's still in it. And as mothers, we oftentimes can't get over, we don't see why our kids have turned out a certain way when we're the ones that unconsciously created the issue. She loves you unconditionally. Her lens towards you is completely unconditional. You could be 50 pounds heavier and she'd rather you be 50 pounds heavier and happy. Yeah. Right? So her lens with you is different, but when she looks at herself, what she doesn't understand is her lens is the same lens you're using. It was taught to you.
Yeah, she picks herself apart, and it bothers me.
Okay.
Hello, like I want to take her. Like, do you see why are you? If you feel this way, that's one thing, but why are you saying it in front of me? Like, it bothers me.
Yeah. And she doesn't see it because she sees you without discrimination. Do you honestly think, though, if you were to be 200 pounds, do you think she would love you less?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay, at this point. Now, if you were 12, you'd probably say she wouldn't like me.
Yeah, I might have thought that she would be disappointed in me, maybe.
Yeah, or judge, or see you like, we have to fix it, or there's something wrong with you, or blah, blah, blah. So, when you're hiding in public places because you're 5'6" and weigh 150 or 145, right? Is it because you're fearing other people's criticisms about you?
I'm afraid of, because everyone I know has seen me so much thinner.
Okay.
And now that I'm not in that body anymore, it's, like I said, to me, it's humiliating. And I know that it sounds ridiculous.
No, it doesn't sound ridiculous at all.
but that's how I feel. It's embarrassing, and I always have this idea in my head that I'm gonna get back there one day. So in the meantime, I'm just gonna keep to myself and work on it.
Yeah, yep. So do you feel like your friends would abandon you? How many of your friends would really judge you if you were like 50 pounds heavier? If you just ballooned up, how many of your friends would actually leave the relationship? Okay. So do you feel that it's unfair to them to treat them as if they're abusive people? Do you think it's unfair to them? Okay, because that's what you're doing. You did not go to your friend's wedding because you assumed that not only would she be abusive to you and judge you, but everybody that went to her wedding, you made the assumption was going to be like that. So you're falsely criticizing or falsely making assumptions that your best friends who love you unconditionally, which means they're true friends, are highly critical people.
Yeah.
You ever see it that way?
I never thought about it that way, but
it just seems a little unfair.
It is unfair.
Well, and I don't like to use the word fair, but it's just not correct. It's inaccurate. It's just completely inaccurate. It'd be like, well, let's move forward. I don't need to repeat this over and over again, but what would happen if you were 200 pounds in your own head? Wouldn't that feel kind of relieving, almost, in a sense? Because it'd be so much that you would have to maybe loosen up?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't have a choice. Yeah.
Well, part of your brain just said, well, that would not happen, right?
Oh, yeah, that was the first I thought, I hope I never get that big.
Yeah, but on some level, if you did, wouldn't it be just relieving?
Yeah, I think, there would have to be a point at which I would have to be like, you know what, it is what it is. Like, what am I going to do?
Would you, totally, what are you going to do? You would still go out and hang out with your friends. You would have probably gone to that wedding.
Yeah. Well.
This is what happened. This is the problem with people who have the same disorder, but it's micromanaged. You are no different than someone who's truly 300 pounds. But the difference is you're playing the game so much more intense. That's why I said if you were 200 pounds, you wouldn't be playing this so intensely. Am I right?
Yeah.
The intensity of your response when I said if you were 200 pounds, that's what you're doing now. It's super intense. But to be honest with you, if I snap my fingers and you were 200 pounds, you'd almost have a sense of relief because you'd be more lenient.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same distorted way of thinking, same sense of low self-esteem and I'm unworthy. The same view, the same lens would be there, but you would be forced to have a level of acceptance. Even though you'd still be managing your food, you'd still be micromanaging your body, you'd still have all this underlying self-hate, it wouldn't be so intense. Because you're within that 10 to 15 pounds of that perfect waist, it's almost obsessive. You wrote in the email, I'm chasing my tail, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So there's a very simple way to resolve this.
What's that?
You need to erase that image of your stomach. You need to no longer want that. You've got to question what's driving that decision. The drive to the decision is this feeling of inadequacy. Now, I want you to think about your value, that's value to the soul. Does being thin make anybody more valuable?
No, not at all. No, when you're talking in terms of the soul, not at all.
And other people, right? Because I need to change your lens. When we talk about other people, you're now very logical, and right? This is like your mom talking to you. Does being thin make you better as a person? Does it really make your soul more attractive? Does being fat make you a worse person? Does it make your soul less vibrant and less valuable? Does being fat make you less creative?
No.
Does it change your desire to live and the things that you find desirable in life? No. No, remember, we're getting rid of all these boundaries and parameters and all these rules and belief systems. Take a body alone, separate from the soul. Does being attached to any variety of bodies change the soul at all?
No.
So if you were 5'2", does it change anything?
No.
So if you lost your legs in a car accident, does that change anything?
No.
If you had the perfect body for 2 seconds, does it make you a piece of shit because you're no longer there?
No.
Well, did that perfect body really do anything?
I mean, I was, like, living more. Like, I was putting myself out there more.
Well, that's the problem. You attached that waist